What is going on, everybody? Welcome to yet another episode of The Rose Show. As always, I'm your host, Jay. Who else but me? And today, my guest is Dave Maldonado, man. Great actor. I mean, there's some really good flicks. He's got an IMDb list that is just so impressive. But we'll get into all of that here in a little bit once the interview starts. But before we get into this, and I want to be clear, they do not sponsor me. I am just putting this out there as a PSA for anybody that may or may not be in the podcasting world or wanting to and looking for guests. So the way that I got linked up with Mr. Maldonado was I joined a site called podmatch.com. Now, I've got plenty of different booking agents that I go through to get my guests, and sometimes it's just direct messages. I'm bold, if you can't tell by now. I have no problem with approaching people, but the podcast game does make people wary about answering messages and this, that, and the third. So there's different routes you have to go through to book people sometimes. So I have decided to start branching out more into not necessarily different genres or anything like that, but using multiple different venues and trying to find my guests. So in that spirit, I joined this site called podmatch.com. Now, again, they're not paying me to say this. They're not paying me to promote this site. I'm just putting this out there because I found this resource and I want to share this with you guys, or anybody out there that might want to try to branch out if you run a podcast or you're thinking about starting one or whatever it might be. This is a really good resource that I found. It's called podmatch.com. Now to join, it's about $6 a month. And what they do is they throughout the day, about three times, depending on what time you check your messages, they send you suggestions rather, based on your criteria of what you're looking for your show. And that's how me and Mr. Maldonado got linked up. And I'm such a fan of this service. I'm telling you, my bookings have went through the roof. It's to the point now where as I'm recording this intro right now, which is only about a week or so before this is going to release. I've got so many bookings, like I have to stop because I'm pretty sure that I'm over my limit at this point just by using this site. And it's connected me to people that I've never met before, had no idea existed. It's a really good resource. So it's called podmatch.com. You can sign up as somebody that you can sign up as like a want to be guest, I guess, for lack of better words, that put your name into the pool that would allow you to get booked yourself as well, which I am going to eventually do, I think, for myself as well. But regardless, it's a really good resource. So if you're a podcaster, definitely check that out. And again, they're not paying me to say it. They're not a sponsor of mine. I just really, really like this service and I want to get the word out there as much as possible. So anyway, yeah, that's really all I got for today because I'm really excited to get into this. We had a really good conversation, me and Dave did, and I think you're going to enjoy it. So anyway, let's get into a word from my actual sponsor and then my interview with Dave Maldonado. Let's go, y'all. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Jay, and I'm here for W Energy, my sponsors. Now, what is W Energy, you might ask? W Energy is clean, jitterless energy. Better than the canned stuff that you would get at your convenience stores, your gas stations, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't have all that trash in it. Now, how do I know? Because I myself use W Energy. So what I've got here, a couple of limited edition flavors. For instance, W Energy puts out this stuff called Grandpa's Ginger Water. I know it don't sound that great, but it is amazing. Limited run that they came out that I've got actually multiple tubs of. I believe in W Energy. I use W Energy myself. Also, this was just released and it's another limited edition flavor that they come out with, and it's called Pom Blom. It's pomegranate blossom. Real nice, clean flavor. And a lot of W Energy, whether it be classics like Calio Cream or the Dub Sludge, whatever it might be, it is clean energy. It's not going to make you feel all crappy at the end of the day after using it. Now, here's what I want you to do, because again, they're obviously a sponsor of mine, but what I want you to do is I want you to go to www.w.gg, order one of the sampler packs, which you get one of these cool tumblers, a part of the sampler pack, and I want you to grab one, but don't use my promo code. That's right. Don't use my promo code who else at checkout, because I want you to try it without thinking I'm just trying to sell you a bill of goods. Try it one time, and then when you go back to buy your second order of W Energy, then use my promo code who else at checkout for a 10% discount, because all you're going to do is try it. I know you're going to love it. That's how much I believe in this product, and I thank them for sponsoring the show today. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to yet another episode of The Rose Show. As always, I'm your host, Jay. Who else but me? And today, my guest has got an IMDb list, man. I was going through it, and I was just so impressed by the long list of projects this guy's been on. A lot of things that you're probably familiar with, because I was going through some of them. I was like, damn, dude, I didn't even realize this. I didn't realize that. It was very impressive. Very honored to be speaking to him today. It is Dave Maldonado. How are you doing today, my friend?
Doing good, man. Nice intro. I like it.
I try to do my best for the intros, my friend.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you go ahead and start at the beginning and let us know a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got into the whole acting scene.
Well, I was originally from South Louisiana. Grew up there. I am Cajun, even though I don't sound like it anymore, and Colombian. That's a kind of crazy combination. I didn't get any of the pigment though. Uh, I got a fraternal twin brother who got all the skin tone. So he grew up with the tan and the ability to hit baseball and giant calves. And I was the artist and I could dance. So, you know, you play the cards you dealt, you know what I mean? But yeah, I was an artist growing up. I was always drawing. That's what I kind of majored in college when I got there. And then I realized it's really hard to make a living at it. So I decided to go in another direction where it's really hard to make a living. Um, and I dabbled in acting when I was a kid just for fun, and I did it in high school. And I never really thought it could be a job, Um, but I took some acting classes in college, and really kind of got the bug there. So once I decided I was going to do that, I started doing theater. I did every play I could possibly do: community theater, dinner theater, theater at the university, and then started doing some indie films there. And then we moved to the Houston area right before the industry in Louisiana kind of blew up. So I basically picked the worst time to move out of Louisiana, being that I started working in Louisiana a lot more once I moved. But, I was closer to Dallas and Austin. And so I kind of got my foot in the door and all those projects, started building relationships with all these casting directors. And then the Southeast and Atlanta started kind of being a burgeoning film scene. And here we are.
Yeah. So what was some of the first steps? I know you said, you moved and that's when you started getting involved with some of the actors and directors there. What was some of your first steps to kind of like break through that door? Because like for somebody like me, I've got a background in music. And for me, it was simple as I booked a show with a national artist and that started getting me a little bit of attention. Obviously, music and acting are two completely different monsters. So how do you start that process? Like, is it a matter of just showing up to auditions, or did you know somebody? How did that start for you?
Well, I mean, my first step was to get an agent. So
Okay.
I had an agent in Louisiana. Did mostly commercials and some corporate stuff. But when I got to Houston, I kind of did some research and what are the best agents in the town, in the area. Set up some meetings, and once I found the one that I think we kind of jived, I went ahead and signed with them. And they started sending me on auditions, smaller roles here and there. So this has been a 20-year process. So
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning, and I was still doing a lot of theater then. So the one important thing is to always be acting. I think Billy Crystal says, and throw mama from the train. An writer writes always. You got to be acting. You got to be doing it. So I figured I'm going to be doing a theater. I'm going to be looking online for any local indie film, student films. I was doing everything I possibly could, just to kind of keep sharp and just to learn what it was like on set and kind of build my craft that way. And once I got an agent and I started getting auditions, I spent the last 20 years meeting these casting directors over and over again. And they kind of built trust. We built this relationship where they can trust me when I'm going to do the work, and I'm going to try to come in and do the best I can and really prepare. And I mean, and that's the main thing. I mean, just getting in the door of these casting directors and bringing your A game every time you possibly can.
I had a discussion about a year. I can't believe it's been this long ago, but about a year and a half ago with Tim Russ. And if anybody isn't familiar with Tim Russ was Tuvok in Star Trek Voyager. He was the guy who said we ain't found shit in Spaceballs. Tim Russ has been in pretty much everything, and
Yeah.
he also had a background in theater as well before he got started on Hollywood and all that. And I think what he told me was is one of the challenges that he kind of had between shifting from the theater to an actual film was when you're in theater, you kind of get that buzz from the live crowd. Obviously, when you're behind a camera, a little bit different. Was that a challenge for you?
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, it's just, and it's a very different animal as far as performance wise. And I've heard people say that's not true. It's like they're the same, and I very respected people have said that, and like I can't disagree more with that. It's if you're doing a scene on stage, you have to kind of perform for that person in the back row. Um,
Right.
so you have to be loud. You have to be your performance is much bigger, and and I think that's a problem with a lot of people. I've always really liked film. I just love the medium. I like being real subtle and small, and the camera is right there. So I mean, the performance is going to be much different. So and I didn't struggle with that too much. I love theater, love it. There's nothing like there's nothing when you're doing a drama or something like that, and somebody comes up to you after the show and it's like, oh man, this is this performance, or they send you a message saying like that performance changed my life. It's like that's very gratifying. Or if you're doing a comedy, and there's no better feeling than holding for a laugh. I mean,
Right.
it's when you say a line and you have another line, but you have to wait for the crowd to get quiet. I mean, it's like there's no better feeling in the world than that. So I miss that a lot. It's just once things started picking up with film and TV, I just kind of had to go all in because there's the margin for error is so small. There's the opportunities. You have to make the most of every opportunity, and once the things are going in that direction, it's very difficult to stop that. And so when you're doing a play, your commitment is like a month at a time. So, and yeah, it doesn't pay quite as well. I don't know what guys in Broadway get paid, or the big theaters in Houston, but the theaters I was working at, there was some great theaters, but the paycheck was not, what it is for like a 1-day commercial or something like that.
Right.
A commercial for a day and get paid for, what you got paid for doing 10 shows in theater. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've said this 100 times on this show already, but I'm going to say it again. There is no feeling in the world. There's no drug I've ever taken. There's no drink I've ever drank than getting a reaction from a live crowd on stage like that. There's no other kind of high on earth. So I totally understand what you're saying. Like when you get that reaction I mean, at the same time, when you don't get the reaction you're looking for, that's like a kick in the gut.
Yeah.
But when you finally do get that reaction of like you said, the big laugh, or from my perspective, being a musician, when the crowd roars, when you hit that one spot, there's just, if you've never been, I don't even know how to describe it. You know exactly what I'm talking about as being from a
Yeah.
performance art standpoint. There's no other kind of feeling on earth like that, man.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, man.
yeah, yeah,
It's amazing. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And that surprises me that you said you've heard a lot of people say that they're one and the same, because the first thing I thought of was, well, not really, because if I'm in a studio recording a song, I'm not going to perform that song the same way I would as if there was a live audience in front of me. It's
Right.
impossible. There's a reason why people release live albums. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Maybe what they were going for was everything's the same as far as your intention and,
mm,
whatever you're doing to prepare, the performance is the same as far as like, your intention and what you want out of the scene. But
right.
the way you deliver it, it's gonna change a little bit, at least.
Did you have any favorite projects that you did while you were in the theater? Like as far as any certain plays that stick out in your mind?
Well, I did. I think as far as dramas go, I did a show in a little black box theater in Brenham, Texas. I did the stage play for Tuesdays with Maury. I don't know if you're familiar
Mm.
with that book.
Yeah, yeah.
Very, very moving story. Hank Azaria played it. He did it in the movie with Jack Lemmon.
Yep.
And that was a huge commitment, a ton of work. Just two of us on stage the whole time. So that was scary. But that's one of the ones where people were coming up to me afterwards, like, man, this is amazing. This is one of the best, most moving experiences I've ever had in a theater. So that was pretty cool.
So when you made that transition from theater to actually being behind the camera, was there any point where you were like, man, I don't know if this is the way I want to go? Because again, two completely different monsters from your perspective,
Yeah.
we already said. Was there any point where you're like, I don't know if this is working? Maybe I should go back to the theater, or was it the opposite? We were like, oh wow, this is definitely the route I want to go.
No, I think I always knew that I was moving into the film area just to be able to pay the bills. It's like
right.
It's very difficult to make a living as an actor in the theater. It's far more. It's far easier to do it in film and TV. Plus, you can do. I was doing corporate videos in Houston. There's a big market for that. A lot of oil and gas, a lot of different tech companies. So there's lots of opportunities for just doing some industrials, doing some spokesperson stuff, commercials, and plus, you can use that money, get new headshots, take some acting classes, do all the stuff. I got a few peers that are very anti commercials. It's like, I don't do commercials. I'm a film actor, and I'm like, all right, well, whatever blows your hair back. But I mean, you can use that money to pay your rent and take some classes. You're also going to be on a set with other people in the industry. You learn what to do on a set, how to behave. Plus, some of those people work in film and TV. It's like you might meet a director in a commercial where it's like, oh, I'm doing this film next year. I think you might be right for it. So, I kind of went off on a tangent, but I don't know if I answered your original question.
Yeah, that's fair. No, because that actually brings up something that I've thought about quite a few times, but I've never had any reason to bring it up publicly. Like, you see celebrities in commercials all the time now. About 20 years ago, that was a mass rarity that people kind of had a bad stigma on commercials. And I noticed that, I want to say earlier this year, where I was like, isn't it weird when you think of like the 90s and even the early 2000s? Like, if you saw a celebrity in a commercial, chances are you were watching Super Bowl commercials at that point in time, because they did not show up. What was that stigma, do you think, of commercials as being somebody that was around for that? Why was that such a negative for people?
That's a good question. I mean, it's I think a lot of actors in general have a stigma for film and television too. Like they do theater.
Really?
Like, I've heard actors, prominent actors, celebrities say like, oh, I'm going to do a play next year. That's where I'm going to do the real work, the stuff that's really gratifying. And, I'm going to go do this movie to make, for the paycheck, but I'm going to go do this play, which, I mean, I can see their point, but maybe that's kind of the same idea with commercials, and I don't know why a lot of these celebrities are doing commercials now. I mean, it's not like they need the money.
Right.
Maybe they believe in the product, but if it's like, T-Mobile or something like that, I'm like, well, I get it. I mean, you always want to make more money, but how much money, if you got, 15 million, 20 million in the bank, what's another 5 million? That's how I feel about athletes. Although that's a little bit different. If you're playing in the NFL, you might be done tomorrow. So you get one blow to the head or a knee. But it's like, oh, I'm holding out for my contract. I'm making 10 million and I want to make 12. So I'm not going to sign until I want to take care of my family. I'm like, I think your family's going to be all right, dude. I don't get it. It's like, why don't you make 9 and go get a wide receiver or something? It's like, or a left tackle. I don't know if you're a sports fan or not, but it's
yes.
I don't get it. I think a lot of the teams that take a pay cut to kind of put some pieces around them are the ones that that go the farthest as a team. So And then we went off on another tangent. Now we're on something else.
Hey, the people that watch this show are used to me being all over the place, so
All
it's
right,
fine.
cool.
We'll eventually swerve our way back in. But now, when this comes out, it'll be probably about 2 weeks after we recorded this, so the NFL season will already be in full swing. And I apologize for those, but again, if you've been listening to me long enough, you know we go into the weeds all the time, so it's fine.
All right, cool.
But it will be about 2 weeks into the NFL season by the time this starts. And I live in Dayton, Ohio. So I have Bengals shit in my face 24/7.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the teams I just have to pay attention to just by proximity. Now, I am a Titans fan, which we're not going to talk about them because they're the Titans and I'm used to their disappointment. But back to your point, as far as, how much team do you, or how much money do you really need as a player? The Bengals themselves, and I could be proven wrong at this point by the time this, recording comes out. So full disclosure, Bengals fans, please don't attack me like you did a couple episodes when I said something about y'all. But the Bengals just spent what, 400 million on 4 players. They gave Trey Hendrickson 1 year 30 mil. They gave 2 of their wide receivers 100 mil. And then you got Joe Burrow's gigantic. I hope Joe Burrow, those 2 wide receivers, and that 1 defensive lineman can play all positions on both sides of the field, because you just backed yourself into a massive corner. Now, again, they could be 2-0 at this point. Who knows? I have to stick my
Right.
foot in my mouth, but I totally understand what you're saying. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm a Saints fan and a Louisiana football fan, so I love Joe Burrow. And yeah, it's like, and I know you guys want to get paid, but what's the
Right.
point of getting? I got all that money and we won 4 games. It's like, well, what's the point? Wouldn't you rather, if you told them ahead of the season, like, all right, you can have $30 million and win 4 games, or you can have $15 million and go to the Super Bowl. It's like,
Right. Right.
We all know Cincinnati's got, offensive line issues, or they have in the past, having Burrow run for his life. So, and with the Saints, it's like, yeah, it's not looking good for us either this year. So, but you never know. I like it. That's the most relaxing when you have no expectations for a season. It's like when they're talking about how good the team's gonna be, you're like, oh man. It's like one year they were undefeated the whole year and then lost to the Cowboys, and that was just like, oh, they're going nuts. Everybody's going nuts. Like, yeah, y'all got beat. So it's a lot harder to take when the expectations are so high. And I'm an LSU fan as well, so their expectations are pretty high too. And they got to go to Clemson, and we'll see, man. I'm thinking about placing a bet on Clemson. The more I learn, the question marks LSU has, it's with the offensive line, you got to have that line, man.
Yeah, like you said, you never know what happens, and we'll see. We'll see. But so as far as like tying that into the acting world, when you were saying about the people that take whatever commercials they possibly can, I am a big fan of the show Scrubs, and the first commercial, I don't remember their actual names, but the actors that play JD and Turk on Scrubs.
Yeah.
The first commercial I saw them in, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Second commercial I was in, I was like, oh, okay, they're in another one. And then they're in a third commercial. And now it's to the point where it's like, you're in so many commercials, I don't even know what you're selling me at this point, because you're reprising your roles as JD and Turk,
right?
But you're selling a product in the exact same way that you sold all the other products. So at that point, it becomes oversaturation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I know Zach Braff is one of them. I don't know the other guy's name, but yeah, I mean, it's, and again, it's got to be, I mean, obviously they're doing multiple commercials for one product, so they're getting paid big time. So yeah. I don't. The money is a powerful thing. It's a powerful thing.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, with you being based out of Texas, I think when a lot of people think about acting and getting your start in acting, they think about either New York or Los Angeles. Nobody, I don't think, at least from my perspective, nobody really thinks about Texas. Was it tough really to get that start in a place like Texas, or do you think you just you had a lot of success there. Like I don't know. Tell us the difference between getting started at Texas as opposed to choosing LA or New York.
Well, I mean, I think it's a great place to get started.
Okay.
I have a lot of people that from LA that come into town and shoot on these different projects. Once we work together for a day or two, they're like, "What are you doing here, man? You need to be in LA. You need to be in LA." And I got friends in LA that it's like, "Man, you need to be out here." And the rest of the conversation is them complaining about how much it sucks out there. I'm like, it's like, you sound miserable, man. Why would I want to go out there? Like I said, but it's there's enough here to kind of get your foot in the door, get your feet wet, kind of learn and work on a lot of smaller stuff and kind of work your way up to bigger roles and build your resume. And now, with Atlanta, Atlanta is very competitive with the rest of the country, the Southeast in general. There's so much going on in Atlanta. Atlanta was that's where I work most of the time is Atlanta.
Okay.
Because they have been very, very consistent with building studios there and all the infrastructure and the talent pool. And politically, they pass the right bills to get the funding and to get all the incentives and all that stuff. And it doesn't waver as far as I can see. Texas and Louisiana is kind of very up and down. I think Texas is moving in a better direction with Taylor Sheridan, I believe, is doing a lot more work here. And McConaughey and Billy Bob have been going, speaking to Congress and saying, like, bring filming here. These are the reasons why, how the industry would help the state. And Louisiana has just always been all over the place politically. So who knows what reasons they have for not funding certain bills. But yeah, Atlanta has been very consistent. And hopefully Texas is moving in that direction too.
That's interesting. I didn't even think about that from that perspective, as far as like, because you hit something there that I don't think the normal person really thinks of, as far as changing the laws to make it more accessible for that city or state to get more work. What kind of laws get changed that would help that?
Well, mainly it's just tax breaks.
Okay.
It's just cheaper to film here. You got to give all these productions a reason to shoot in Texas or Atlanta, Louisiana. And if you don't give them the incentives, they're just going to do it in LA with the people they have and the resources they have. So you got to give them some incentives, tax incentives, to give them a reason to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So what were some of your favorite early projects when circling back to about 10 minutes ago? What were some of your favorite earlier projects when you started getting into the actual film side of acting?
Well, early on I was doing, a lot of, they call them either day players or under fives. You have under five lines, which are some of the hardest, roles to audition for, because every actor wants to put all this work into it and to build this backstory and for under fives, it's not always warranted. Sometimes you kind of get in your own way. You don't want a lot of teachers I've had some good teachers, I've had some bad ones, but it's like, it doesn't matter. You have to build that character. And it's like, sometimes this guy's just showing up to do his job. The guy who's showing up to the table to take your drink order, you don't need to necessarily know what he had for breakfast, and
right.
What his relationship with his father was like. Sometimes it's not necessary. It just gets in the way. Now you need to differentiate and know which ones that you really need to put that work into. But I was doing a lot of big roles in small movies and small roles in big movies, for the most part. And then I did a movie called Deepwater Horizon. And that was kind of my first big role in a big movie. So that was incredible experience. It's the first time I got my name on the chair. It's like, that's a big deal. It's sometimes usually it has cast. They have to give you chairs for SAG rules, but if you it usually had cast, but if your name is on the chair, that's like, oh man. So that was pretty cool. When I showed up to set and my name, it was actually my character's name, which was like even cooler. But I got to work with Peter Berg, and Kurt Russell and Mark Wahlberg and John Malkovich. So that was incredible. Just and going into that and working with Pete, he's coming from Friday Night Lights. There's a lot of the it's a very the camera's always moving. There's a lot of improv involved. And when we first started that shoot, I had my first scene with Kurt Russell. I'm like, of course, super nervous. And we weren't really he wasn't getting what he wanted from me. And he said, and I'm originally from Louisiana. And he said, "Can you do a coon ass?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can do that." That's a Cajun, in case you
Yeah.
A derogatory term, but Cajuns have kind of embraced it over the years. And he's like, "Yeah, I can do that." And then after that, things just kind of fell into place, and I was a lot more relaxed. It's a very relaxing dialect. I mean, if you're doing that accent, it's kind of hard to be stressed out.
Right.
So that was cool, man. And the guy I played was not Cajun, and I never met him. Although a lot of people in the movie met the people they played in real life. I met the family members who had died in the disaster. So that was pretty cool. And then Your Honor, got to work on Your Honor for a couple seasons with Bryan Cranston. Played another Louisiana guy. Got to use a little bit of the accent. Played a not so nice detective. So over the years, I used to kind of be that everyman in commercials and the nice guy and doing spokesperson stuff. And the roles kind of got creepier over the years, which is kind of cool. Got to play some unsavory people. That's a little more fun.
Yeah, for sure. Well, speaking of that, one of the big things, I'll let you explain how you got onto that. One of the reasons why we're here today, and one of the reasons why I know you first and foremost, was from your most recent project. Let's talk about that a little bit, and tell us the process of what it was like working with some of the people of the project that we're talking about here.
I assume you're talking about Sinners.
Yes, sir.
And that was, just incredible all the way around. When I went in to read for it, I went to meet Megan Lewis, the casting director, who I know really well. We're really good friends. We go back a ways. She kind of took my career to the next level. Once we met and I read for her a couple times, she really fights for me in the rooms and encourages them to, give me something give me a little something a little meatier, So,
yeah.
But when I went in to read for this, I didn't know what the project was. I just got the sides. I didn't have any information about who the director was or what the movie was. I got, kind of got an idea what the movie was about, but I just knew what was happening in the scene, and which is better for me. I don't want to know if I'm going to read for somebody, this big director, and I knew who Ryan Coogler was, but I didn't necessarily hadn't seen him. I didn't.
Right.
So I went in and read for him. And I think he had an assistant there, and I went in and did my thing, and he was super cool, very laid back, and did it a couple times, and then I left. I'm like, all right, cool, that went well. And then I was looking on my phone later, and it was like, oh, Ryan Coogler, and oh, Michael B. Jordan's in this. Okay, oh, that's the movie I just read for. Cool. Yeah, I think I'm probably gonna be in this movie. That's awesome. So that's how I want to find out. I don't want to find out ahead of time. It's like, okay, you're going to read for Scorsese today, so make sure you think about it all day.
Right.
Really get into your head about it, So, but once I got there, man, I can't say enough about those two guys. They were Coogler's directing style is just, he's so laid back, very soft spoken. Different actors like to work with different directors. Their personalities really mesh, and mine did with him for sure. I'm a pretty insecure actor, it's like, oh, am I doing this right? And he put me at ease. And Michael B. Jordan, I mean, it was a very demanding schedule for him. Obviously, he's playing twins. There's a lot of complicated shots, we would shoot a scene and then we'd go change and come back and we'd shoot the other side in the Louisiana heat the whole time. And he was nothing but humble, and kind and the entire time. And that's something that I never saw him lose his patience or get, been out of shape about anyone around him. The only time I saw him lose his patience is with him when he would like screw up a line or something like that. I never saw him lash out at anybody. And I mean, you kind of expect it because you're under so much pressure. I mean, the whole project's riding on him. So,
Right.
and they have a deadline. They have these studios that are, want this project in on time and under budget and all that stuff. So, but yeah, man, it just amazing to work with those guys. And then to see the movie, because you never know how it's going to turn out. And I went to the premiere in New York, and I'm sitting down, and as soon as the music started playing, I was bobbing my head the whole time. The soundtrack is amazing. And once the credits were rolling, I think everybody in that theater was like, "Wow, man, this is something special." And I saw Michael at the after party while I was looking over at quarterback for the Bills, Haley Steinfeld's Josh Allen.
Yeah,
I'm
Josh
like,
Allen.
Man,
Yeah.
I gotta try to get in and talk to Josh Allen. And then I never got to talk to him, but anyway, I did talk to Michael, and we hugged, and he was like, "What'd you think?" I'm like, "Man," I was like, "I've never seen anything like this. This is all the genres kind of blending, and the music, and that you always want to create something special, but for something like that, for a horror movie,
Right.
to just do something that unprecedented, that's never been done, was very gratifying for sure.
Yeah, and I've seen nothing but good reviews from anybody that's watched it. And that's especially when you have such a critical genre like horror. Normally, there's a sea of people who come out and this is what's wrong about this, and even more so when you got vampires. I mean, you saw how the world reacted to Twilight, the fact that they changed vampires, and it's one of the. I'm not saying it's like as bad critically when it comes to like fandoms like metal music and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
horror fans are pretty much they're up there. But I've seen a lot of people say a lot of good things about that, and that's cool that you actually went back and watched it at the premiere. And that was something I wanted to ask you was, do you find yourself going back and finding yourself in all the projects that you're in, or do you just do it for some? Or because I know some actors just don't pay attention to anything they've ever done. Obviously, with this one, it's like you said, it was
Yeah.
special to be in a project like that. So I would understand if that was the only one that you did. But do you normally go back and watch the stuff that you were on?
Yeah, I mean, I every now and then I'll go to. I went to a movie a few years ago with a bunch of friends because a friend and I were in it,
Hmm.
and then I realized I wasn't in it. That's always that's always a gut punch when you get cut. You're on the cutting room floor. But my buddy was in it, so that was good. But yeah, I mean, if it's something that I think is going to be good, I don't necessarily dissect it or anything like that. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, if it's a good project, I just want to see how it turns out. I don't necessarily go back and revisit a bunch of stuff. It's I can do that when I'm building that demo, and that's enough for me.
Yeah, sure, sure. Well, a couple of last questions here for you. What advice would you give somebody who was trying to get their foot in the door when it comes to acting? Because again, for somebody that is brand new to this, or somebody that has no idea like me, I am curious about stuff like this, where it's like, how would I start building a portfolio, or at least starting to try to get my foot in the door to start building to get to some of the success that you have had? What advice would you give somebody who was starting off in the acting industry?
Yeah, I mean, I know what I did, and that's the only way I can recommend it is to just go and act, and everything you possibly can. Um, I did community theater. I did a lot of plays for no money, just to get the experience and learn. And I was just all about building that theater resume, doing back-to-back shows and taking classes. And um, then I started doing indie films, and I had buddies doing films, and then I was doing student films. Just do it. You got to go out and do it, and then, figure out what your next step is. Is your next step getting an agent? Is your next step writing something? I just think there's always something you can be doing to prepare for that next level, to move on to the next thing. So, I mean, that's what I did, and it's worked out for me. I was just always looking for the next thing I could be doing to improve, and I mean, you might figure out down the line that, like, yeah, this is not worth it, because it's a marathon. At least it was for me. I know some people, they do a couple of shows, and then bam, they get 100 and something episodes on one show, and that's the way it works out sometimes. That's not everybody's fate. It wasn't mine. Yeah. So you just have to kind of play your cards like they're dealt, and just try and improve with every experience, with every project. Yeah.
Sure. Is there anything coming up that you got on the books that you're looking forward to, or is there anything specifically, like, do you have a certain kind of project in mind that you would like to do in the near future, or what's coming up next for you?
Well, the next thing I got coming up is a show called His and Hers, which, when I got the breakdown and was reading for it, I thought it was like a rom-com or something. I was like, what is this? It's definitely not a rom-com. It's a kind of a gritty murder mystery. Shot it out in Atlanta with John Bernthal and Tessa Thompson, and got to work with John quite a bit. I kind of play the sheriff in the show, and he's a detective. So, and he's kind of a hothead, kind of, the way only John Bernthal can be. So I kind of got to put him in his place here and there. Kind of going toe to toe with him was incredible. And when I saw Tessa Thompson and he was in this, a lot of these stars are really, really gifted actors who are doing a lot of TV now. So when I saw that they were in it, I'm like, oh, this is might be something special. So that's what's coming out next. Should be out in the fall on Netflix here soon. So look out for that.
Very, very, very cool. Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to me today. I always give the last couple of minutes here for my guests. If there's anything you want to plug, social media, if you got any websites, anything at all, just want to give a shout out to somebody, hey, floor is yours, my man.
Well, I don't know what the names on my Instagram and my Facebook, but if you just Google me, they'll be there. Everybody has this cool little tag for their socials. I don't. It's my name. So I wasn't very creative when it came to that. But I'll just put it out in the universe. It's like you said, what roles I want to play. I'm still holding out for a Jedi. So I'm still, they're doing enough Star Wars stuff these days, and I'm kind of up in age now, so perhaps an older, wiser, kind of take the cloak off. And I don't even care what the color the lightsaber is. Just get me in there. Just get me in there. Good. Have your people call my people.
Yeah, exactly. I would want to do a yellow lightsaber because that would be the most independent. But okay, we got to sign off because we'll sit here and talk about Star Wars for the next 20 minutes, and you got to go. Dave, thank you so much, my man. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, my pleasure too, man. Appreciate it.